Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome back to another video by yours truly. We have a brand new Abyss format. It's called the Oath of Eternal Alliance, and they've made quite a bit of changes that are pretty huge. And there's also one thing that I took notice to that is pretty huge for the meta right now, and we can get a good identity on performances of different DPSs and things of that matter. So let's go ahead and get into it. Right now, let's start off with number one, difficulty spike on lower floors. They removed the two elites format, and now it only follows the same dynamic as the upper floors with one elite format. So what I mean by that is, remember there used to be two elites when you would go into the battle. I'll go ahead and show you there. I already got my teams pre-picked and everything. That's pretty cool. So now when we come in here, it's just one person. Number 5, we're gonna go ahead and get number 5 because I have 5 notes written down. We just went over one. Number 5, this is the new map. This shit looked clean as fuck. This is where, you know, the Scooby-Doo whole entire event is going on. I really like this map. It's super cool. But this is another one. This is my number 5 change. Anyways, floors 1 through 5 only have one elite boss now, so you don't have to worry about managing your techniques optimally. For the people who are still catching up to the end game and, you know, getting some good investment on your characters, you guys are probably still struggling with these floors. Now it's just one elite boss. But continue on, don't interrupt me, I will jump through that screen, girl. The other thing that's worth taking into consideration is with one new elite comes a higher health pool, and honestly I felt the difficulty. I don't know if it's difficulty or just a higher health pool. They're a bit more tenacious, a bit more resilient. So it's a damage check from floor 1 through 5. You need a little bit more damage to get through the floors. I felt that. That's not factual. It's just kind of something that I felt. And it makes sense now that there's not two elites. So that's one thing that's worth taking into consideration. Number 2, the lower floors now mirror the upper floors with one small change, which we'll go over that in a bit. But what I mean is, floor 1, you can see these two mobs, right? These two elite mobs. If we go over to floor 6, it's the same exact elite mobs, and that is the same dynamic for every single floor. So floor 3, you got Savarog with this douchebag right here. So we can go up to floor 8, and floor 8, Savarog with that douchebag. So this exact, they're mirroring each other now. And remember, when 1.6 rolls around, you only have to complete floors 1 through, I think, 5. Yeah, you only have to complete them one time, and then going forward permanently, you can just skip straight to 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, the upper floors. So you might be thinking to yourself, oh, well, that's kind of annoying. I just have to do the same thing over and over again. Well, not for now. In 1.6, they're going to make it to where you don't have to do the lower floors when you're just stacked. But I actually don't mind this, because for people who can't make it to the upper floors, you guys generally don't know what the hell the upper floors look like, right? So now you know exactly what the upper floors look like, because the lower floors mirror them, so you can practice, figure out the intricacies and mechanics of the new mobs or whatever the format may be, and then when you make it to those upper floors, you already know what you're going up against, which I think that's pretty cool. Some may like it, some may not. It is what it is. Number 3, new enemies have been implemented into this format. Yeah, that's right. So the new enemies that are in the Scooby-Doo event, Scooby-Doo event. That's fucking funny. I made that one up on accident, bro. That was unintentional. Hold on. Let me go to the floor. Is it floor 9? Yeah. The new enemies have now been implemented in this freaking girl. So we're gonna have to spend some time learning all of their intricacies and their mechanics, their hidden mechanics, because this is going to aid the sweaty gamer who's trying to get the most efficient runs and speed runs and so on and so forth. When you're trying to do these things on the most optimal level, we have to like relearn whatever these new mobs are bringing to the table. So that'll be fun for me. I look forward to playing around with that. Oh, but you know what? I almost forgot. The one change, remember I said the floors mirror each other from lower to upper? There was one little small change. Japard is the final boss on floor 10, whereas on floor 5, it's Aramatan Gatekeeper. That is the only change though. Everything else is the exact same. Just that little small change was made. So the final boss, floor 10, it doesn't have Aramatan Gatekeeper. It replaced them with Japard, the motherfucking shield hero. That was one little change that I forgot to mention when I said number 2. All right, so number 4, the new Abyss buff is neutral to all DPS. So no excuses can be made for DPS overperforming or underperforming outside of elemental advantage. It's also worth noting that floors 7 through 10 are pretty much the same difficulty level. The only exception is if there's a boss on a floor with 2 health pools, which obviously a case in point would be the Swarm Disaster boss or like the Deer boss. They have 2 whole health pools. So outside of boss situations, floor 7 through 10, same difficulty level, right? Outside of the elemental advantage, same difficulty. The reason I mention that is because, case in point, floor 10, the first half, Japard is favoring physical, electricity, and imaginary. So obviously you could do some DPS showdowns between Imbibe de Lune and maybe Argenti when Argenti comes out, because they're both weak to both the physical and the imaginary element. But you can't do a Topaz run on this and expect to have a fair, accurate show off, because they're not weak to the fire element. So the better thing you would be able to do, or the more like, you know, rational thing to do, is to go down to floor 8 and go up against Savarog, because they're both weak to the fire element. That's what and that's fine. That's a perfectly comparable scenario, because level 85 versus level 90, there's really no difference. The defense difference is very negligible. So that's why it's worth mentioning that. And with that in mind, the final thing I want to talk about, since we already covered level 5, number 5 change, which is how clean the map looks. Let's throw in a number 6 change. It's not a change, it's just something worth noting. Floor 7, we got ice and fire, imaginary and physical. Floor 8, we got imaginary and wind, lightning, and fire. And then we go to floor 9. I'm gonna be honest with you, imaginary and ice are pretty much like on almost every single floor, which is ridiculous. Environmental and Jingliu, man, they stay at the top, bro. It's ridiculous. But what I did notice is there's some variety in the upper floors. It's not just everyone's weak to the same elements. You've got some variety. So if you want to test out a DPS of your choosing that's whatever element, you can definitely do so on one of the upper floors just to see how they're going to perform. Again, this is very this is a very fair scenario to see how DPS actually perform, because in the last one, the elation buff was heavily favoring follow-up units. That's why I was saying with this one, it's a more neutral buff, which we'll go over that as well. We might as well, since we're talking about it. But the buff says after an ally uses skill or ultimate, add 1 hit per action to memory turbulence, up to 10 extra hits. At the start of every cycle, every hit will deal damage based on the enemy target's respective max HP to random enemy targets 1 time. What this essentially means is the more actions you complete within a single cycle, the more turns you're going to get up to a maximum of 10 hits. But the thing that sucks about this MOC buff on a sweaty level, we always got to keep that context in mind, is it takes effect after the cycle ends. So it's at the start of every cycle, which means if you have 10 stacks on your 0 cycle run and you're like depending on that buff to finish the job, it's gonna finish the job on the next cycle, which sucks. The cool thing about the buff though is that it hits random enemies, which means if you get rid of all the enemies and only leave the elite mob left, it's gonna take all the damage onto that elite mob, and it scales off of their HP. So it deals true damage. So if they got a bunch of HP, that shit deals over 100,000 damage. So it makes sense that it goes into the next cycle, because otherwise you would just get a free 100,000 damage inside of a 0 cycle. I'm not gonna say it makes sense, but I can get it. In other words, it's a Jingyuan and or Argenti type of buff. Jingyuan Stan deals more single target damage when nobody's left alive. Argenti's the same way. He deals random damage, but if there's only 1 target left, then they're just going to put all the damage on that 1 target. That's literally this MOC buff. So in other words, any 0 cycles you see from units in this particular format are the most legitimate and rawest 0 cycles that you can achieve. These motherfuckers ain't got no buffs from the Memory of Chaos. They are naturally busting ass like Broly. Boy, Broly, he a different beast. Brother was born a Super Saiyan. That's how they doing it. So be on the lookout. I will be uploading footages myself and trying to achieve as many 0 cycles with as many different team comps as I can, because this is now the time to test, again, outside of elemental advantages, who is actually worth their salt. And Topaz is gonna be one of them I'm gonna check out, because a lot of motherfuckers just hating on Topaz for no reason. I don't know, these kids, bro. These motherfuckers just ain't got nothing better to do with their time than to hate on units. I'm gonna be testing out Jingyuan, all the units that are normally slept on. Kafka, I want to test her out because she hasn't been popping off in a while. Yeah, that's gonna wrap this up. I wanted to make this so that everyone has a good overview and comprehension of this format and how it changes things and shakes shit up with the meta. Comment down below, let me know your thoughts. As always, thanks for watching. Peace, love, and happiness. I'll catch you on the flip side.